Hey everyone, and welcome back. I had to order a couple of things, and then I took on a side project which gave me a few bucks, so it's time for another mailbag. First one up is this one here, $12.58, March 8th to March 19th. Really fast shipping because there's really no choice. You either pay a lot for shipping and get it in a really long time, or pay slightly more and get it in a short amount of time. So guess which one I picked. So there should be 30 items in here. It does seem like there are 30. So, odd. Okay, so anyways, this is supposed to be Outemu Red Keyswitches. So you'll notice there's no sound. Let's see, are they Outemu branded? They are. Yeah, so these are mechanical keyboard switches. These are the kinds that don't make the clicky noise. They're linear switches, so they're silent. This is the type that I prefer for my keyboard, and this is the type that I have and my wife has. And one of her switches, the S key, started acting up, so I actually desoldered it from her board and swapped it with the pause break key, because that's the key that you barely ever use. But I decided to order some replacements just in case any of our keyboards gave up the ghost. Now the interesting part that I didn't know was going to happen is they sent me two other switches. So this is Outemu Black, and it doesn't have the dust guard around it, so maybe you can tell this one here has shields and this one doesn't, but these should be clicky. No, that's linear. No noise. And here is a purple, also linear. They just have probably different spring force. The reds are kind of weak. Purple seems a little bit harder, and oh yeah, black is very hard to push. Interesting. Let me get you a closer look at these before we go on. If you have the choice, I would always recommend you buy a mechanical keyboard, because these things are actually good for millions of uses. And if you look here, it's just 2 pins to desolder and resolder a new one. The switches are individually replaceable. So my current keyboard is an off-brand Chinese Victing, and honestly, this is the longest lasting keyboard I've ever had, and I think it'll continue to last because now I've got replacement switches. The other cool part is footprints are available for these, so you can actually integrate these into PCBs. So you can get some really good, high quality, long lasting key switches to put in your project. So that's pretty cool. So if you look, this is the red, so it's described by this red here. And then on the bottom here, this is clear. You see that the top section is clear plastic because a little LED fits inside here, either surface mount on the board, or they make flat ones that go in, and you can light them and the keycaps. So the keycap will just engage on this little X there. So if you look, this black one, it doesn't have this dust shield, which is this the rectangle part. So when you push it down, you can see that stuff can get in that switch body there. Whereas this one here, very unlikely to. And then here the purple. So it feels like the red is the weakest, then the purple, then the black. And if you get into the world of mechanical keyboards, you'll see that you can get switches with all types of clicks, all types of push. You get some with double resistance, like a resistance up to a certain point and then a click, or resistance up to a certain point and then more resistance. Though it's crazy. But these are relatively simple devices, and they're very durable devices. So I'm glad to have a bunch on hand. I'm going to start experimenting with them, and I'll probably be adding them into my regular PCB rotation because they're really cool, and as you saw, not that expensive for a switch like this, which on a project that you don't use every single day will probably last you a lifetime. And I forgot to mention, it also came with a tool to remove these from their enclosures. You just give this a little squeeze on these little wings, and you can usually pull it out of the clipped enclosure. You don't need to clip it into an enclosure, but most of the times it is clipped around this side here. Next one up is this one here, This one came in today. Actually, quite a few things came in today. This was $23, a little bit expensive, but wait till you see what it is. March 9th to 24th. It should be 15 pieces in here, and I wrote 15 pieces so I remember, because there should be quite a few. Oh yeah. I was being doubtful that actually there'd be 15 pieces, but it does look 3 times 5, yeah. My wife would be proud of that quick math. So what are these? These are what's called a collet, and these collets are for holding bits in a, I guess like a CNC, like a, I don't know, it's a collet chuck. It holds bits and then gets wedged into a holder. And I got these because Banggood had sent me this CNC. So this is the head of it. And here's the collet here. And I had bought these end mills. 2 times 4 times 50. And it didn't fit in here. But now I should be able to find a big enough collet in this group to fit that. Sort of like that's maybe a little bit too big. But I think this is a 4mm, so I just need to look for the 4mm and I'm good to go. So because this CNC, whoops, that's not the box. Because this CNC is going to become part of my workshop, I want to be able to use whatever tools I want with it. And so that's why I got a huge set of these collets, and I'm going to probably have to 3D print some sort of holder for them. Size 2, 4.5, maybe we'll try that one. Yeah, this has 15 pieces, so it's a little bit expensive, but it has a ton of pieces. Whoops. Like so. Okay, that might fit in there. Maybe I just needed to use a 4mm, but that's okay. We're going to try anyways. So these come out like that. Then you got to push these out with quite a bit of force. It's a little bit violent. Don't really know what to use to push on it, but let me bring you back when I push it out. Okay, I got it out. So I just put it on top of this vise here, and I pressed down with the good old Canadian Robertson bit. So basically I found the 4mm size, and if you see, it fits my end mill perfectly. It's like not a friction fit, but it's nice. So that goes in there, and then you set this on here. Then usually by threading it, you'll have enough force to clip it back into this cup here. But maybe I'll try pushing it through first. If you look at the little groove here, it fits in a little sprung ring inside there. Actually, clipping it in is much easier than taking it out. Alright, put this in here. And drop this in here. I'm going to set it up as close as I can. And there we go. And you tighten this, and the goal is that the wedge shape holds the end mill on all sides. So this is, it's not even tightened down yet, but this is completely solid. Is not going anywhere. So this is ready to mill. So these end mills are a little shallow, but you know what? This CNC, I don't know its capabilities yet. I just wanted to buy a couple of the exact same mills, so if I break one while testing, I could just swap it and keep testing. So yeah, this is a big set because, again, like I said, the CNC, I want it to be part of my creative process. So I have all the sizes available. Yeah, down to, is that a 1/4 millimeter? That's going to be tiny. And then size 6 I see, 6.5. That's 1.5. Oh, 1/8 even. So something like 6.5 to 1/8. 7 to 1/8. So yeah, lots and lots of different options, and that's the goal, is to have them on hand. Next is this mega package, $27, but there's a lot in here. March 8th to March 24th. So I went a little bit nuts. So these are one thing, and these are another. May have to zoom you in because there's so many. So I now have to count and sort all of these things, but these are essentially chip sockets. I ordered a ton of chip sockets, and the reason is because I don't have a lot of chips, but I do like making PCBs. In fact, it started as a sponsorship from PCBWay. You know, I make videos using their stuff, and they help out the channel a little bit. But actually, I'm starting to get good at it, and so I'm enjoying making PCBs. So I can see a lot of PCBs happening in the near future. And so these are a whole bunch of these chip sockets. I went around my shop and I picked up inventory of how many chips have how many legs and whatever. And I ordered just literally a ton of chip sockets. I was looking at those kits that have assorted chip sockets, but there were some sockets I didn't need and not enough of the ones I did need. So now you can expect me to do a lot of projects that require chips. That means more analog circuitry because I've got chip sockets galore. No idea how I'm going to sort these bad boys, but I've got everything from 8, I think, up to 28 pin. All the useful ones anyways, they'll be linked in the description, or they'll be mentioned in the description because this will make too long of a video for those of you that don't want to hear me ramble about with sockets. But yeah, they are chip sockets. The other things I got are these guys. Now you probably have seen these pretty much exact devices, but on boards. For Arduino and stuff, these are relays, but they are 5-volt relays. And so I want to start, there we go, integrating these into my regular PCB rotation. So these use 5 volts on the coil. You need a transistor to drive it. An optocoupler is perfect for driving this. And then it can switch like AC mains if you really wanted to. This one here, yeah, 250 volts AC. So you need proper tracking and all sorts of things. I'm still a distance away from making PCBs that switch AC, but I do have things that I want to switch DC and relatively high current, you know, a couple amps. So these will be useful for that. So these are 5-volt coil, and they have the normally open and normally closed contacts. So yeah, got a bunch of these, 10 of these, and God knows how many sockets from that package. Next one up is this one here, $5.08, March 8th to 24th. Also, if some of you feel like this is a bit expensive, don't forget these are in Canadian dollars, so about 30% less expensive than you think if you're in the States. These are, oh, they came with fuses. So these are typically used in the automotive world to add fuses to your circuits. And they're basically little fuse holders, and you pop a little automotive fuse. This is a mini fuse. This is 7.5 amps, and you pop that in there. Geez, that's tight. And then you close this off, and you've got a nice little waterproof housed fuse, just like that. And it's on a loop of wire because what you do is you chop the wire here or wherever, and then you hook up the wire to your battery and then this side to your load, or you hook it up to another wire. How they make these, they just cut little lengths of wire and they crimp the ends, and then sometimes it's molded over and sometimes, yeah, this one's definitely molded over, so it goes through a process and they pour the rubber in. And so yeah, this is for a project to make some multimeter test leads for beginners. So basically there's a 10 amp fuse in most multimeters, and this is a 7.5 amp fuse. So if you make yourself a custom test lead with this in line, that means if you accidentally try to measure voltage in the current setting, instead of blowing the $20 or $30 fuse inside the multimeter, you'll blow this couple cent automotive fuse. It'll save your other one. So the reason why I got a full waterproof version of this, you can get some that are not waterproof, is so it's fully insulated. You shouldn't be measuring AC mains voltage if you're a beginner and you don't know what you're doing. But even if you do by accident or whatever, this should save you because it's fully insulated. So if you want to see that video, let me know. It's a relatively easy video to make, but I think it's going to be accompanied by a article on my website, so it might take a little bit more time to make. But other than that, if you guys want to know, you guys should probably make yourself custom test leads with a fuse in line, especially if you have an expensive HRC fuse like in a Fluke. It's like $30 here in Canada. And the last one here is from Amazon. This was actually a price error. I've never seen one this cheap, and I shopped quite a bit. I'm going to put this aside because this is recyclable. There we go. And so, yeah, I jump on these opportunities when they come. Same thing, the mic I'm talking to you through right now was like $18, and I can only find it for $56 the day after, and still to this day. But these guys here, this is one of these camera magic arms. But what's special about this one's the long one. I think, yeah, fully extended. It is, let's see, about 60 centimeters. So that's about 2 feet long. So the other one I have that was sent by my Patreon patron was only about this long on each section. And so a nice big long one is something I was looking for also, because I love that one so much. And so what this is it's just an arm that has like almost infinite sort of movement range. And here this spins all the way around as well, and this spins all the way around as well. And then once you set it to a position and you tighten this knob, it becomes solid. You cannot move that. And you cannot move this. Losing a little bit of grease there, but oops, there was a in between locks. There we go. Now it's completely locked. You can't move this. So I use this for rigging cameras overhead here. The last live stream with the laser cutter over in that room that way, that was rigged with the one arm that my Patreon patron got me. And so it's time for more. So this one was on a pricing error, $20 Canadian. Never seen one that cheap, especially on Amazon with next day delivery. So I was really glad to find it, and I nabbed it. You usually get given opportunities, but you have to act on them. So here it is. And so this giant mix of a pile of individual components is today's mailbag. I'd like to thank my Patreon patrons. None of the items in here are sponsored by any companies or anything. This is all my money, which is really from the Patreon funds. This is sponsored by Patreon. If you want to join them, join the community, there's a link in the description. Other than that, I want to thank my viewers for watching this, sharing it, and the people who use my affiliate links, because affiliate money is where things like this come from. Thanks for watching.